In this video, I wanted to talk about software companies, both software agencies and like SaaS companies, because I see so many people talk about them. And I've been running a software company for the last 2.5 years. Before that, I tried to build a SaaS type of company. I'm a developer myself. I've been interested in business and development since I was 13. This is the thing that I've done for the past, 7 or so years of my life. And I wanted to make this because I see a lot of people conflate the ability to make software and the ability to make a software business, which I used to confuse as well. Those are fundamentally different skill sets. If you want to make any kind of software business, the first thing is you must choose the kind of business that you want to make. So the first option is like a tech product. And so that might take the shape of a SaaS. A tech product nowadays, everybody calls a SaaS, but any platform that you build or whatever is ultimately some kind of tech product. Now, it is important to call a SaaS or a platform a tech product because it highlights the game that you're playing, and that is the product game. You are building a product company, not a services company. The other side of that coin is you can also build a software services company, which is what I have. I've also tried building a software product company. That is a completely different game to play. And in this video, I'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons because I think I've seen a lot of people kind of divided. I think the one thing you should not do is try to do both because focus is the most important thing I think in moving faster in any endeavor that you have. And so focus, I've never seen anybody actually pull it off. People, will try to build 3 businesses at once when they haven't even built one successfully before. I think it makes no sense. But fundamentally, you have those two options. So I want to start by just looking into those two. So what's the difference in a software product versus software service? Software service is basically, a kind of agency model where other companies hire you to build stuff out for them. So my clients hire me to build software for them, for their teams, for their companies, for their clients, for their users, whatever it is. That is what we do. So we get paid to write code. A software product, you basically write code to build something and then you sell that thing that you built. Now, in the case of a tech product, specifically a SaaS, the benefit is that once you build something, it's worth a lot of money. The exit value is very, very high. They have multiples of 8 to 10. They have some of the highest business multiples. What that means is if you ever decide to sell the business, when you sell the business, people will take the revenue and multiply that number by, let's say 8 to 10, which is a huge multiplier. So if your business does $1 million a year, you will exit for maybe 8 to 10 million. So it's very, very valuable. You build what's called enterprise value. Whereas, in the opposite of that, if you build a software services company like mine, you are typically valued at a much lower multiple. So for example, maybe 1 to 3 times your revenue or your profit, depends, there's lots of ways to calculate it. But the point is you tend to build lower enterprise value because the SaaS product, you've built a product that will keep on selling itself. And if people are subscribed to something and the churn is relatively low and you've built a good product, that product will continue to make money with relatively little upkeep. Whereas a software service company, obviously you have employees to take care of it, and in order to scale, your marginal cost of replication is very, very high. What that means is if I build a software product, I can replicate it infinite times at no marginal cost of replication. So I write code today, I can reproduce I can run my application that I coded one time. I can run that application on 10,000, 100,000, 1 million laptops, right? Whereas for my software service business, the resources that I use to build one application, my development time, my employees, whatever, I cannot use that 10,000 times over. I will need 10,000 more hours. If it takes me 1 hour to make an app and I want to make 10,000 different apps, I need 10,000 hours. Whereas if I make a software product one time, I can use it 10,000 times. So that is why SaaS is so valuable and everybody jumps into it, whatever. And at this point, you might be wondering, okay, well, if SaaS is so good, why don't I run a SaaS company or a software product company? Why am I doing a service thing? The problem is getting a product right is really hard. It's really hard to build a new product is not easy. It is not easy to find something with product market fit immediately. Matter of fact, that is the entire Silicon Valley accelerator, YC Combinator, all of that stuff, the whole startup scene, tech startup scene, it's basically just everybody trying to find product market fit. That is the thing that everybody struggles with because it is not easy to actually cohesively, solve a unique problem that has not been solved before. And I want to expand on this because basically in a business that does something new, that does innovation, you have two risks: idea risk and execution risk. Execution risk is always there. It's basically, are you competent enough to do everything? Idea risk is my idea fundamentally useful? So basically, idea risk is, do I have product market fit or not? The thing with a new SaaS product or whatever is that finding product market fit is hard. And once you find it, like if you want to eliminate idea risk, right? So let's say I want to build a SaaS company and I eliminate idea risk. That means basically I'm just building something, I'm building some kind of tool that does what's already on the market. And so I'm just going to compete with the existing market players. Then you are playing a marketing and distribution game. It's not actually about software. If you want to build something that's already been tested before and you know users want, so for example, a cold emailing app, right? You know this exists, you know there are companies that do it, you could replicate their software and then just try and beat them on marketing. That's the other option you have. But it's very, very, very hard because you have no money upfront to play with. That is one of the big downsides of SaaS. That is why tech gets so much investment from venture capitalists. It's because it's a game that's very hard to play. It's like you get a lot of money on the back end if you sell the company, but it's upfront, it's very expensive. It's a very expensive game to play because, Netflix makes billions of dollars, but they make, a $10, $20, $30 subscription per user. And so when they were starting out, let's say you have 100 users paying, let's call it $10 each, that's $1,000 a month. With $1,000 a month, you don't even pay one salary in the US, right? For an engineer, for whatever. So you need a bunch of money to supplement that and to spend on marketing and whatever. And you end up playing a game of basically who's got more money to burn into funding the whole startup life, because tech companies tend to lose money for a very long time and then they make money at the end. And so you have to be able to afford to lose a lot of money. And this was something I did not understand when I started my first kind of real tech company when I was 16. It was like an ed tech thing. Ed tech is also a very hard space to succeed in. But yeah, so I learned that and basically made no money on it, whatever. But you have to be able to have the resources to either put in a lot of capital yourself to fund the marketing and whatever, or get VC investment that's going to fund that marketing for you. It's very hard to compete bootstrapped. You can, but it's very, very hard. And you have to find product market fit in something and grow really fast. So that is one of the key drawbacks. On the flip side of that, if you run a services business, it's cash flow first. So, when I started the agency, I have no cost to fulfill. If I fulfill it myself, I'm a developer. So I just find a client and then they pay me and that's profit. And, there you have it. And you can start the agency there. And then you hire other people and you scale that operation. And, now I have a team and I have more clients and projects are more complex and I don't do a project by myself. And, I run bigger margins and I make more money and it's a bigger business and, things go from there. But fundamentally, it's easier to kind of kick off and you basically, you get more cash flow that you can then reinvest into growing the business. Whereas with the SaaS, you basically you are starved for cash flow for a very long time before then you make copious amounts of money at the tail end of that. But the thing that I realize is for the stage that I am at, the software services thing is a lot more feasible for me. It was about feasibility. I wasn't going to be able to get investment and whatever. And so what can I do with the resources that I have at hand? That was a key question that I asked myself. Yeah, and is the exit multiple the same? Absolutely not. But you make more cash flow up front. Overall, though, you'll probably make less than maybe a tech software product, right? But with a tech software product, let's say I build a SaaS company for 10 years. I will get a huge exit at the 10-year mark. But until then, you typically don't get a bunch of money because you have to go find investors. And if you take on investors, then investors are going to sit on your cap table and you can't be taking a ridiculous salary because they know. And so you can't just pay yourself a stupid amount because you have to be reinvesting in the business because you're making everybody else some money and stuff like that. And you have to then put everything in. The only thing you can take out is a regular employee salary. And this is one of the things that I identified, which I saw as a huge risk, which is if you take on investors and you basically get a salary and you are the founder and your thing eventually fails. I mean, it was an awesome journey, but you basically got violently underpaid because, a salary does not cover the stress of a founder and CEO, from ground zero. It is very stressful to think about everything. And that salary is just what you will have to live on for a very long time until you exit the business. And then you make, ridiculous amounts of money. unless you're able to like do it without investors. On the flip side of that, a services business will get you more cash flow up front, but the exit will not get you that much money, right? Compared to the SaaS product and whatever. And so it is about the timeline that you have that influences your decision, and also like the resources that you have at your disposal. And that is network, that is funding, that is, if you have zero resources, doing a SaaS product is probably not the best idea. That has been my experience. And I run a thing called Dev Launch. Like, full disclosure, it's a thing to help people start agencies, because I have one and people have asked me how to do it. And I've never seen anybody else kind of like help people set up software agencies. So I started the thing. And in every single conversation I've had with anybody who's interested, like, it's always developers, right? That's the entire point, is to help developers create agencies. And almost every single conversation I have had, the people who hop on the calls are always like, oh, I was thinking about the SaaS thing. I started a SaaS on the side, but it didn't really make any money, or it's actually really hard. It's like, yeah, SaaS is a really hard game to win, and you need funding and you need a lot of things. It's not just about how well you can code. There's a whole like other skill set outside of that. And I guess I should have said this at the start of the video. The other thing I want to talk about in this video is that, like, one part is, are you doing a product or service company? The other part is, what is actually needed to build a software company? And what I want to strain and highlight there is, it is not just the software skill set. What I mean by this is, when I started my software agency, I thought, I know how to code, so I can just get clients, code for them, and make an agency. Right, happy days. What I didn't realize is, like, the whole skill set of getting clients, of managing clients, managing communication with clients, managing timelines and projects and employees and hiring and like accounting, even like just business stuff that's admin, whatever, legal documents, contracts, all of this stuff that is outside the scope of software engineering. I committed the mistake of thinking just because I can code, I can run a software business. And that was a violent mistake that I learned to, I eventually learned from that. But in the first year of business, I almost bankrupted the company twice, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And in many ways, I'm still learning a lot of stuff and figuring a lot out. I have learned a lot, and I have been able to build a little agency of mine. But there's still, I still have a ways to go and a lot to figure out and a lot to learn. But that is all in the business skill set side. Like, the actual software engineering part of it is only a very, very small component. It is the fulfillment component. But even then, like, knowing how to code in it of itself is not the only skill you need. It's about knowing to have high standards and how to communicate things to your clients and keep people up to date. That is a really important part of a software services business. And equally, if you do software product, like, the marketing thing is huge. And one of the reasons I started this agency was because I actually, like, my entire thought process was, I'd like to build a software product someday. But right now, that seemed like, given the things that I've observed, which is you need a lot of money, it's very hard to find product market fit. I want to observe what other people are doing well. And so a software services agency helps other software products. And so I get to observe what my clients are doing well. What are the most successful clients doing? And one of the things I've observed is the most successful clients focus a lot on marketing. Like, you need to market hard. And that is a big part of the SaaS game and any business, really. But marketing, I think, was the part that I most underestimated. And I think most developers that I've spoken to, when they try and do SaaS, I think that is the biggest thing, is they underestimate how hard marketing is. And if you have, with an agency, at least you start to get money to put into it. Whereas with a SaaS business, you basically have to fund it yourself, and that's extremely hard. Or you have to do everything yourself. You have to code the product and market it and do everything, and it's a really hard game to play. I genuinely would not recommend it to, I think, even my worst enemy. It's a losing battle. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on software companies, just because I've seen a lot of people question what they want to do and say that they want to start something of their own, especially developers, because I'm a developer myself and I speak with a lot of them, and running this thing to help other developers set up software agencies, and seeing a lot of them I've seen a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to build a SaaS product, AI product. You can, and there are benefits to it, but I think it's worth knowing both sides of that. And so that's why I wanted to kind of speak on that, because I think I've seen, like, through my agency, I've been exposed to a lot of software companies, a lot of developers, a lot of founders, and that's given me an interesting perspective. And I wish I had thought like this about my services business. I wish I had started it sooner, to be honest, because that was probably one of the better decisions I've made in everything in business. It's just like focusing on a services business, because I got to learn from other people that are doing the thing that I think I want to do. So yeah, I'm probably gonna head to sleep now and record something again tomorrow.